206. 206 Elendorian elves, slaughtered like livestock. Slaughtered under his leadership, under his rule, his kingship. The young king, Arumand Silverleaf, sat in solidarity and silence. His anger, disappointment, and sadness simmering within him like a hot spring upon a volcano. He stared at the glass window near his desk, his reflection peering back like some ancient portrait. The flawless perfection of his likeness disturbed only by the pattering raindrops which fell softly upon wet glass. Even for an Elendorian elf, who were known for their devastating beauty, Arumand could be counted among the fairest. But fairness or no, his people were dying, being murdered. At only 118 solely, Arumand Silverleaf was the crowned king of Elendor. He always knew he would be king. The greatest king of the elves since Clarion, he had always thought. That was, if everything had gone as it should have. But it didn't. Marked by birth, the ancient kings of Elendor dedicated centuries to training in their kingly ways. They would spend their childhood with their families and then be taken in by the current king to undergo hundreds of years of rural tutelage. They would learn of the ways of diplomacy and economics, of the art of war and ways of peace. But Arumand had no such training, and now, more than ever, he felt robbed of his birthright. 118 solely was nothing in the time of elves. He was but an adolescent by elven standards, and he was not prepared for the present aggression of this Paralandria Rex. Arumand shifted in the large oaken chair and focused upon the neatly arranged papers awaiting his attention. Yes, his people were being murdered in the streets, but that was no excuse to be messy. The young Silverleaf struggled in the eerie silence of the council room for several hours. He tried personally responding to pleas for help, issuing calls for justice, arranging meetings with important allies, and signing new laws and edicts naming Paralandria Rex as an enemy of the crown. However, the cataclysm of emotions in his mind made it exceedingly difficult. The unseen faces of the hundred of slaughtered elves haunted his thoughts constantly. Come on, you have to do this, he implored in frustration, trying to whip the will to see it through. Do this for them? He worked tirelessly upon the papers, eventually dwindling down the piles on his desk. If he couldn't protect them, the least he could do was stop something like this from ever happening again. As he came to the next letter, he noticed that it was finely embroidered and had a strong vibration of life magic upon it. The smell emanating from the letter carried the all-too-familiar sweetness of Eris family. In particular, Nariaris. Arumand may have only been 118 solely, but that was more than long enough to know all about the Eris family of Mosaius. The royal family of Mosaius were known across every corner of Cherundal for their seemingly unending wealth and their unrivaled political prowess. His heart took a much-needed leap of excitement upon seeing the letter. Surely they were sending some help, he thought. He may have missed centuries of kingly training, but even he knew that there weren't too many problems that endured if you threw enough gold at it. As Arumand read the letter, his heart began to lurch. He slammed the letter upon the desk with a loud slap. The sound echoed in the council room so loudly that the royal guards at the room door rushed in, swords drawn, suspicious looks upon their fair elven faces. Arumand gulped awkwardly, not realizing it was so loud and embarrassed at his momentary loss of control. Oh no, it's nothing. Sorry about that. Please, carry on? The guards eyed the room suspiciously, and then Arumand before returning to their posts reluctantly. The king sighed deeply and then returned to his frustration. As if dealing with the sadistic Paralandria wasn't enough, now he had one of the richest and most cunning royal families threatening to Bombard the island and crack it open like an egg to find Paralandria? Arumand cupped his hands upon his face on the brink of sobbing. This is too much, he sighed. Before he could completely break down, there was a feeble knocking in the room, but it wasn't coming from the door. Arumand pitched up suddenly, snapping out of any self-pity he was feeling a moment ago. He moved his hands toward his hips and placed it upon his sword, the ancient artifact, Dawnbringer, which, as always, lay hidden by his side. The life magic of the blade flowed through him with a comforting warmth. "Who's there?" he inquired, mustering all the menace and royal authority he could in his voice. The rhythmic tap sounded once more, but this time, the young king knew from whence it came. A smile moved upon his face. The trapdoor, known to very few, opened slowly and silently. From the shadow stepped an old man, his lush beard cascading down his golden robe like a frothy waterfall. "Hieronymus!" Arumand called, the elation embarrassingly apparent. The old archwizard leaned upon his staff with a grandfatherly smile. After greeting the young king appropriately, Hieronymus sat and spoke with Arumand at length. "I can't believe it!" Arumand exclaimed at the end of the long conversation. "You did it! You did it! You found where she's hiding!" And at that moment, all traces of the boyish adolescent left Arumand's face. His voice became grave and perilous. "By Chalm's light and by Runon's loyalty, Paralandria Rex will face a justice harsher than if it were handed by Heraclius himself," he swore. "I'll inform Matron Nariaris of Mosaeus at once." "Thank you, Hieronymus," he said, grasping the old man's hand with affection. "You have done well."